how, and I think it is a choice. I really do think it's a conscious choice on their part. Idiotic things like nuclear weapons, idiotic things like um, Fukushima, things that are still ongoing. Fukushima is going to destroy everything as far
Yes.
as, I mean, and there is no fix. And yet they're still building more nuclear facilities with no fix. There were six nuclear stations in the path of Irma, six six plants in the path of Irma as she came toward the U.S. And you sit there and you look at these things, and you know that if we're going to be the people taking care of this, we're screwed.
Yeah.
And are they going to allow us to actually destroy this environment completely? Or do they have the interest, or I know they have the ability, do they have the interest in helping us to be able to stop it? Or is it just going to be an object lesson?
They very much want us to preserve ourselves and to preserve this planet. It's my understanding that in unison they've agreed that it's not their job to interfere.
Right.
Um, and, that's why I wrote the treatise, The Chicken and the Egg. We have to peck our way out of our own dilemma here. An internal force applied against an eggshell is what builds the strength for the chick that pecks its way out to be able to survive
Right.
on the inside of the egg. It's an equivalent force. If they break that egg for us, then we will not survive. And I think that there's a correlation and an integration in this natural process that we simply must look at. I think that there are numerous ways to enlightenment, numerous paths to enlightenment. I think that when we correlate and integrate with them, that they will be much more willing to intercede on our behalf. And they have, in fact, interceded on our behalf in the past, in more incidents than have even ever been made public. But they can't save us from ourselves. We have to save us from ourselves. And I don't know how much time we have left. We've already done so much damage to this planet. Just the melting of the polar ice caps is releasing ancient methane bubbles that have been there for hundreds of thousands of years, that are being released into the atmosphere. If that process speeds up to too much more, it's conceivable that our air could become unbreathable and that we would literally poison on our own oxygen because it's mixed with a toxin. The idiots who deny climate change, sorry, idiots who deny climate change, idiots that pull us out of climate accords, idiots that want nothing more than to pad their pockets with more kickbacks from big oil, big gas, big pharmaceuticals, big medicine, big coal. They are who this is on. We the people have a voice that we failed to use in terms of our forward momentum and progress, in terms of saving our planet. And we have taken a gigantic step backwards. The EPA over the last 18 months has been decimated. 700 plus of the world's best scientists have bailed out because nobody in this administration even wants to hear the words climate change. I live in a state where the governor of the state has declared that those two words cannot be used in conjunction on public property and in the state house. Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is ignorance. And in the age of global communication, that anyone can be that freaking stupid scares me way more than anything that's flying around this planet in a vessel that we didn't manufacture.
You know, I would agree because, you know, to, and I do know everything is cyclic. Truly, everything is cyclic. There are all kinds of things that are just not arguable, though, right? You know, when you start having so many different things that are completely unexpected, and then, you know, the ice caps are enlarging again, and I don't know what that's about. I don't even know how that could be possible. So I'm just trying to,
We're
you
going
sit
into
back
a
and you
polar
watch it.
shift. There's
Yeah.
going to be drastic changes
And I'm
in the
just
Earth's
sitting there
core.
educating myself as I'm learning. I'm just sitting there going, oh, good God. Right? I am
Well,
just so frustrated. And,
well,
you know, I
we're
don't
almost
usually,
past the point of being able to repair this.
yeah, we
Um,
are. That's what I'm
and
saying. You know,
and
we've got all
so
these
at
natural
this,
things on top of that, on top of all of the man made things. And when it's coming to like a perfect storm,
yeah,
and, you know, Fukushima is completely man made. That is
yes,
complete human
it's a
responsibility.
man-made disaster, as was
Yes,
the oil rig explosion in the middle of the
absolutely.
Gulf of Mexico.
And that touched my
As was
house.
the
I mean,
Exxon
that was,
Valdez,
yes,
et cetera, et cetera.
we're
Oil
killing it.
tankers that are exploding because the companies are too cheap to double hull what they're taking the most explosive raw uh, oil products around the country in. Every time one of those trains goes up, and sorry, it happens way too frequently. It does damage to our environment that's irreparable.
Yes,
So it's something that I care very passionately about. I'm sure you could hear that in my voice.
I can. I do too, though. I mean, because truly, I own Gulf, well, at the time I owned Gulf Front property.
Hmm.
And, you know, now I would be, you know, I sat there on my beach watching all these fishermen from all over Baldwin County in my area. I didn't even know what I was looking at. It looked like landfall, right? And
Hmm.
all these people had all their boats out trying to, you know, pulling boom, trying to stop the oil from coming ashore and from coming into the back bays. And, you know, I'm sitting there when I realized what it was, whoa, just crying because they're fighting for their way of life and they're fighting for everything they've ever grown up knowing. It
One
was
of
just awful.
Yeah, well, and I feel for them. I do. But this is how I really feel. They can pack up everything that they own and they can go live someplace else and they can still make a living on dry land. But when I saw a helicopter shot hovering
Yes,
directly over the oil
with
spill
the
and
whales and the
saw
dolphins
whale
and yeah,
writhing, writhing, and
yes,
dying in not knowing how to release itself from this slick that had completely, utterly encompassed it and was going down its throat and gagging it and killing it and then watching it sink to the bottom. I wanted to kill someone with
yes,
my bare hands.
yes,
That's how I feel about this because that whale deserved to have a life in its own water without us interfering so that we could line the pockets, so that we could foul our environment when we have all the technology that's conceivably available to us to live in an environment that is completely and utterly clean and could be free.
Yep.
Nikola Tesla gave us everything that we needed, and Westinghouse did everything that he could to silence that man, and bury all of his work. And when my mother says, fear the living, not the dead, she
Yep.
is spot on.
Yes, she is. And I'm going to tell you that I am just stunned, always stunned. Tesla's my hero. I mean, the most exciting thing for me in New York was when I came across Tesla Circle. I mean, that sounds stupid, but it's true. And the fact that they treated him that way, they stole his work so that no one else would have access to it. They do know how to do that, and it's just insane. And I don't. Oh, we could go for days on this topic, but right now I have somebody that wants to know when they can buy your book. I'm sorry.
I will. I have a whole promotional team of I call them the tribe.
Right.
And they call themselves the tribe.
Yes, they do.
Actually, they're the ones that started that, and I just said, "Oh, that's cool. We'll do that." But between my Buttercup Brigade on my fan page and all the people that I have as my most ardent, steadfast followers and readers will spread it. They will spread the news far and wide. Anybody that wants to know the exact publication date, the moment I have it, I will post it liberally. I've just got a little bit of cleanup left to do. I just want this to be as splendid and perfect as it can be. So I've got my cover, that's all done. I've got my interior, that's all done. Taking care of one thing at a time, submitting one thing at a time, filling out my paper one thing at a time. But when all is said and done, from inception to publication will be less than 3 months.
Well, I'm so ready, and they are too. And Wendy said, "Careful, the tribe will overload the Spreaker chat area." And I said, "They're in." I said, "They're already in there." There's several in there, but
I have the most wonderful, extraordinary people that have come into my life. And all of it happened because I found the courage to tell the truth about our story, about the farmhouse. I didn't want, there was already, wind of a movie. I had started writing the books about 3 months prior to hearing that Lorraine Warren wanted to tell the story. And that was when I got my first call from a producer about it. And I was already well into outlining, diagramming, trying to come up with a notebook full of and a little recipe box full of things written down on note cards of my own. I mean, to say that it was a daunting task to write that trilogy is the understatement of the new millennia. It took 7 years, start to finish, to write, edit, publish all 3 of those books. It was the biggest commitment that I ever made to anything in my life, but it inexorably changed my life, and it brought people to me that I would never have had the opportunity to know any other way, and that they've changed my life and enriched my life in ways that are literally impossible to describe. Opened me up, supported me when April passed away.
Yes.
We got thousands and thousands of cards and letters and messages and condolences, and it felt like the sympathy of the world, which brought my mother great comfort at a time where no parent should ever have to bury a child.
No, they
It's
should not.
proof that there's nothing fair about life. And we didn't even know how she was going to deal with this, if this would claim her. It was that bad. So I am deeply humbled and privileged and grateful to my readers, my fans, my followers. I hate the word followers because we all walk together. We walk side by side. I tell them, take my hand. If you're lost, I know the way from here.
That's right.
Just, hang in there. We're in this together. We are all in this together. And if we continue our commitment toward the greater good, toward the healing of humanity, and